The expansion and creation of the European military-industrial complex continues. We see another step taken in that creation right here. The EIB, European Investment Bank, expands financing for defense projects and critical raw materials. On Friday last week, the European Investment Bank adopted a series of measures to further promote investment in the areas of security and defense. The message from European leaders is clear. We need to strengthen Europe's security and defense capabilities. Today's decisions show that the EIB is part of the solution, said Nadia Calvino, President EIB Group, in the press release. This is in response to what is one of the most, what I think is going to be a landmark, seminal document in European history. That was in response to the European Council Conclusions of European Defense, 6 March 2025. And in this document, this is the creation of the European Military-Industrial Complex. Welcomes the recent letter by President of the European Investment Bank and the plans to therein step up its support for Europe's security and defense industry while safeguarding operations and financing capability, and calls on the Board of Governors of the European Investment Bank to urgently continue to adopt the EIB's practices for lending for defense industry, notably re-evaluating the list of excluded activities. As in a previous video that I did on here, the Polish Prime Minister came out and bluntly said that we have to back away from the Ottawa Convention and reinstitute the use of anti-personnel landmines and other things that are banned in that convention. And in this document, the European Commission on Defense is urging the investment bank to allow investment in that list of excluded activities, and by increasing the volume of available funding to the field of security, force, and defense. Underlines the importance of mobilizing private funding for the defense industry and invites the Commission to consider measures in this regard, including by signaling to private investors the importance of defense industry in Europe at large. This is a seminal document. I believe this is a historic, seminal document. The European Council Conclusions on European Defense. I believe that this is the basis for the European Army. But in regards to this story specifically, what this does is, because this is a follow-on story, this is the European Investment Bank following through on the Council's recommendations. Let's go a little bit further into the story and find out what they're doing. The EIB Group aims to at least double its investment in security and defense projects this year, reaching a new record level. The EIB's existing €8 billion strategic security initiative will be embedded in a permanent overreaching financing target that complements the existing financing targets. Lending in this area is not subject to a fixed ceiling. As stated in this document, they are able to run this bank program, and they can do it without being on line item. They've opened up the registers. This will enable the EIB Group to respond to financing needs in a way that protects its business and preserves its financial strength for security and defense projects and investments in areas such as barracks and storage facilities, land and air vehicles, drones and helicopters, radars and satellites, advanced avionics, propulsion and optics, border protection, military mobility, critical infrastructure, mine clearance and decontamination, space, cybersecurity, interface suppression technologies, military equipment, protection of submarine infrastructure, and research. According to the bank, the decisions are intended to further facilitate investments to Europe's defense industrial capabilities, complementing the European Commission's White Paper on European Defense and Readiness 2030 plan. So the financial institutions, the European Investment Bank, is falling in line with the outlines of the European Council's Commissions on European Defense 6 March document. This document, again, I'm going to link this, and this document is going to be the subject of many videos on this channel. Many videos, because I can see this document for exactly what it is. And the creation of a European army is the goal of this document in the end, without actually saying so. However, it does lay out the framework that we can watch take place as this story unfolds. This is a direct result of this, which means we have other things in this document that we are going to be watching for. One of the things noticed is the funding mechanism. They stated in here that it's not on a fixed lending in this area is not subject to a fixed ceiling. So there's no limit. And this is the story. EIB expands financing. As we go down, lending in this area is not limited, subject to a fixed ceiling. It's kind of like the debt limit in the United States. It just keeps going and going up. It doesn't matter. There is no limit. You guys may come to regret that. I'm just telling you. As a taxpayer in Europe, you may come to regret that on a financial level. That might not be good for you guys. Watch out for that. But on a military level, your guys' capability is now going to expand exponentially. If none of you have read this document, the European Council Conclusions on European Defense, 6 March 2025, I urge you to do so. I urge you to do so. This is a landmark document. This is the first step in the creation of a European army. And you can see its tentacles already starting to reach aspects of the European defense investments, like with this story here. There's Germany's working on a hypersonic aircraft. I imagine that's going to start getting some funding from this. There's many tentacles that this is going to reach out into now. And on this channel, we're going to try to watch as many of them as we can and keep you as up to date as we can. What's happening in Europe is going to directly affect us here in the United States. It's going to affect Russia, China. It's going to affect the entire world. We're seeing the rise of what could possibly be a new superpower. Right now, we're seeing it in the crib. It's still in the crib. It's a little infant. But it is there, and it does exist. It could rise, or it could fall. If it falls, Europe will crumble into a bunch of independent states again. If it rises, it could be a new superpower. And we're going to watch that rise here on this channel as the EIB expands financing for defense projects based on the European Council Conclusions on European Defense 6 March. We'll keep an eye on it for you. You keep an eye here, and we'll let you know. Appreciate you. Hit the like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and let them know. Europe, they're rising, and we'll see you soon.